Objection! Well, here we are. The end of MLP Generation 5, at least in terms of animated series at the time of this video. There are many plot lines that we will never see to their conclusion, such as the whole Zip Future Ruler storyline, the whole thing with Sunny locating the last remaining city of Alicorns, and of course the subject of today being the conclusion to Allura's story arc. And with no announcement of future comics addressing the subject, the future of her tale is pretty much up in the air. And so today I figured we would go into what we know about her and her journey thus far, and see if we can speculate where the show could have possibly gone with her character. So without further ado, let's discuss the Allura saga. Now, before we go any further, I'm just gonna tell you all right now, production hell, corporate intrusion, and mishandling of the show aside, Allura's story as is doesn't make much sense. And I know that you think I come at this wanting to make fun of the show, wanting to hate it and thus overly criticize it. No, I wanted to see G5 succeed. I really did. But all the problems plaguing the various production teams just compounded upon each other, causing tons of miscommunication amongst everyone, leading to tons of confusing or lackluster storylines. And I will tell you what did work about this arc. It wasn't a lot, but I just wanted to throw out that disclaimer before we get started. So I figured it's best to start out as far back as we can go, with Allura and her brother as kids. The Tell Your Tale episode No Place Like Home went into Allura's backstory, where she and her brother Altero were from another realm and had one day discovered what would be known as the Nova Charm. While playing with it, a portal was created and Allura jumped through, ending up supposedly near Starlight Ridge, separating the siblings forever. And it's at this point that the timeline gets extremely muddled. Get ready, because this is going to get very confusing. Let's begin. Okay, so when we saw Allura go through the portal, we did not actually see her take the Nova Charm with her, and thus it remained in the same dimension with Altero. Afterwards, the next major plot point involving Allura goes all the way to the events of the Secrets of Starlight. Now let's go back to what Violet Frost said about the charm.
It's a special charm that our town has possessed for thousands of moons.
Now, the length of moons has been ambiguous in both G4 and G5. However, using the information about the Luma Bloom event during Bridal Woodstock and the official G5 Hasbro Media Kit, for simplicity's sake, let's just go with 1 moon equals approximately 1 year. In other words, Starlight Ridge has possessed this charm for close to 1,000 years. Which also implies that Allura is also close to 1,000 years old.
What?
How? Is time slower in her dimension or something? But I'll ignore that, which mighty big thing to ignore. But here's the problem. It's clear that Allura's dimension and Starlight Ridge are two completely different areas far in between each other. So what happened to the Nova Charm back in Allura's home? How did it get to Starlight Ridge? True, it could have been found and transferred ownership over the 1,000-year period, but again, how did it get to Starlight Ridge? Okay, let's assume that it naturally found its way to the town and the elders of said village, for whatever reason, decided to adopt this item as their prized possession. Fine. However, even if Allura's portal dropped her somewhere outside Starlight Ridge, how does Allura find out that the Nova Charm is at the town after centuries, stay in the area for all that time, and not bother to adventure her way back, then one day on a random whim decide to steal the charm and manipulate the Aurora Corns to endlessly search for stars to get her back home, and yet, even after stealing the charm, she doesn't even have the forethought to even check it, in the long shot that it is actually the same gem that brought her here.
It just raises too many questions.
It doesn't make sense. And then to add further confusion, and this is attributed once again to the miscommunication between the animation teams, they couldn't agree on what kind of story to tell with this character. What do I mean by that? Well, in Secrets of Starlight, she was basically established as an evil tyrant who wanted to take over the world.
She believes that one of the stars in the sky is special and contains the magic to open a portal that will lead her to another realm. She wants to control more than just Starlight Ridge.
Essentially diminishing her motivations to be as base as Opaline and just wanting to take over the world because evil, blah blah blah. Compounded by the fact that at the ending of the special, it also makes Altero seem just as evil as her sister.
You fool! You had the star the whole time! Don't worry, brother. I'll get it back.
Which contradicts how they seem to have a decent or at least average competing sibling relationship, turning this empathetic story about a brother and sister wanting to reunite into rah-rah take over the world.
Of course!
But before we get to the rest of Allura's Tell Your Tale episodes, let's do a quick recap to get you all caught up. Allura has a brother named Altero. The two play with this thing that will be known as the Nova Charm. The charm opens a portal, and Allura travels through, ending up somewhere supposedly near Starlight Ridge with her brother and Nova Charm still in the original realm. Yet somehow the charm in the other realm somehow makes it to Starlight Ridge and remains in their possession for approximately 1,000 years, with Allura also living for an unnaturally long life cycle somehow, and all the while looking for the Nova Charm, but then one day somehow discovers the Ridge's Nova Charm and steals it, not knowing wherever checking that it's the actual magical charm that brought her here, then discovers the unique nature of the Roracorns and the Aurora Flares and uses her powers to make them summon another star gem to take her back home, but again doesn't even realize that the star she was looking for was in her grasp the whole time, leading to her utter defeat and eventually going to Maritime Bay to get it back, where it ultimately gets destroyed!
Everybody got that?
Okay, I think we're good now. Let's move on to the remaining Tell Your Tale episodes. The next major event in the Allura saga is during the Season 2 special Blocky Walkies, wherein the board trot is created and the Nova Charm is split into multiple shards, essentially becoming batteries to not only power the park, but to create a ride custom to each of the main six's interests. Continuing the Allura saga, the next interesting tidbit is in Tell Your Tale episode 20, where Izzy suddenly stumbles across Allura's home, where along with her powers of ice and persuasion, she also has the power to temporarily erase anyone's short-term memories.
What?
Yeah, essentially her paw acts as a neuralizer.
There was no alien. Flash of light you saw in the sky was not a UFO. Swamp gas from a weather balloon was trapped in a thermal pocket and refracted the light from Venus.
Now, it is a cool power, I will give you that, but why does she have this? Actually, the more pertinent question is, why didn't she use it before? She wields this particular power like she's been doing it all her life, so why didn't she use it back in Starlight Ridge? When Allura discovers the main six in town, she could have just used her mind wipe powers to erase the memory of her and Starlight Ridge from our heroes' minds and could have just sent them away so they wouldn't have interfered with her plans. You can't just keep adding random powers for the sake of the plot, as it stretches the realism of the character's abilities.
God damn it, Carmen, you can't keep making up powers. Yeah, dude, that's like the 5th power you've come up with. I have the power to have all the powers I want.
Which finally rounds us back to the episode No Place Like Home. And this is the episode that really gave Allura the most development. Sure, we've seen how much she cares for Twitch in the past, wanting to protect him from any dangerous situation, or even the simple act of taking him to the park and breaking in shows empathy for another and adding another dimension to her character. And of course, I've already discussed the ensuing events with Allura and Altero's separation. And that's pretty much everything we've established about Allura that we can go off at this point. From here, we can only speculate on how the arc would progress from here. So, let's begin. Something that always baffled me is the relationship between Allura and Twitch. Why would this supposedly long-living, powerful creature that can manipulate others to their very whim want to pal around with this tiny manic rabbit? Well, that could be an episode wherein we see how the two met. There are many different ways that you could take this. Perhaps whilst roaming around the outskirts of Starlight Ridge, maybe she comes across this bunny and sees him as a potential food source, leading into a chase. During said chase, Allura could be caught in a sudden avalanche that completely buries her. Twitch feels sorry for the cat lady and rescues her, and they become allies. Or perhaps Allura is roaming around and finds Twitch frozen and dying in the snow. Then he could have had a flashback to her childhood where she had a cherished pet rabbit that she can never see again. Thus, she rescues him and decides to take care of him, and they become family. Another episode would be to further explore the relationship between Altero and Allura. See the two in their own dimension and see what life in their world is like. Perhaps we discover that their realm, or at least where they live, is more of a royal or military town with stricter livelihood, with the duo always getting in trouble regardless, and show even more of their competing sibling spirit. So maybe an episode that shows one or more sibling not really much of an adventurer, and either sibling essentially pushes them into a somewhat dangerous one, and in the end they accidentally locate the Nova Charm. And eventually there would be a point where Allura would eventually warm up a little more to the ponies, so another episode could be involving Twitch getting injured or sick, and the main six work together to help him out. She would still remain a loner, but be a little more receptive and begin to contemplate the possibility of a friendship with him. But of course, we eventually have to introduce adult Altero as well. So perhaps a longer form episode where he finds another gem, or some other temporary means of making a portal, and the brother and sister reunite. However, Altero, due to his home's military or stricter upbringing, is now a ruler and a tyrant who wants to rule over all and now has found his way to Equestria. Allura would initially go along with him and be successful at conquering the main locations of Equestria, but Altero would see Twitch as a weak and insignificant creature and attempt to have him killed or banished, leading to Allura leaving his brother and switching sides to help those she previously conquered. She forms an alliance with the main six, and through the usual magic of friendship stuff, they defeat him, but it also causes the unfortunate side effect of the portal diminishing, trapped permanently in Equestria. Everyone makes friends, and Allura starts her new life proper in Maritime Bay. So, that's about it. If you guys have any ideas for how the Allura saga would go, or any opinions on her story as we know, leave your thoughts and comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe. Well, that's it for today, guys. Until next time, MC out!